everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, along with Jake, and we're here to talk about NXT Great American Bash. And yes, I'm actually sort of reviewing one of the special shows that I never said I was going to review, but we didn't get to do a preview, so we're going to do the review, and I didn't review the show, so here we are. And it's tired in here. What's up, Jake?
What's going on, my friend? I am happy to be here yet again. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to preview this with you, but even better, I'm glad we didn't get to preview it because I don't want to say I wasn't looking forward to it. I was, but I think you kind of understand my sentiment. I wasn't as excited as I probably should have been or would have been normally.
Yeah, it wasn't a takeover. It wasn't a pay-per-view. It was an episode of NXT. It was an episode of NXT that happened to have a bunch of things on it that we were looking forward to.
So it was an above-average TV episode.
Yeah.
But I wish it was booked out a little bit further. I felt like most of this was rushed somewhat. Everything but, really to me, like the Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly feud is everlasting. But
yep. But I do like the element of it being a weekly It's that halfway point between a regular episode of NXT and sort of a mini takeover because you have the promoted matches, but even still, you still have the segments that either build off of last week or build towards the next week. We're going to talk about both. Collection of matches that, maybe didn't necessarily set the world on fire. There was no world title match. There was no women's title match. There was no cruiserweight title match. There was no North American title match. We had the tag titles, and the nostalgia title. And then Cole and O'Reilly, which I'm never going to complain about. We'll get to it when we get to it. But I do understand people that are burnt out on that particular match. I still like it. I like the reversal of we did the hardcore ridiculous plunder match first and then pulled it back to a regular wrestling match. I do think there's something unique about that.
I did like it as well because this was a straight out wrestling match, and you said, we'll get into it. But
I will say, and let's be fair. Shout out to AEW. They did their Road Rager show last night. Their first show
a lot of fun.
out of Daly's place. In a new place. The lighting was weird. I think you and I talked about this the other night. But other than that, lots of news to talk about. Obviously, Aleister Black showing up. Obviously, Britt Baker and the Saudi Arabia reference. Really, really good show for them. So while I'm usually here lobbing the bombs for NXT, shout out to AEW who are going to have 4 more, pay-per-view Wednesday nights. But this was
coming up.
This was good. There is a little bit of Murica, and you can speak on that obviously more than I can. Obviously, if they're going to do the Great American Bash, they're going to do it around the 4th. The stage was great, but I know you agree with me on this.
Yeah, the setting was fantastic. I love the look of the stage.
I know you agree with me on this, though. Why was there WWE turnbuckles?
I didn't understand that at all. And I'm also not a crazy fan of the ramp being the way it was.
The elevated ramp is a choice. It's weird. Road Rager had it as well.
I don't care. I didn't like WCW having it where it connects to the ring. I never liked that. I like where you walk up to the ring.
Watching the way they filmed the show, specifically with Road Rager and. Please, guys, I'm actually trying to be nice to AEW this time, so cut me some slack. I think it
was just a placement issue. They didn't have room.
Yeah, I think it hinders the cameramen because as far as them getting around to catch all the action, they've literally got a wall in front of them trying to get around the ring. But, and as I said to you as we were watching the show, it shouldn't bug me as much as it does. But you don't need WWE turnbuckles. I know you're doing the red, white, and blue ropes because it's Murica Day. Happy belated Murica Day to my American friends and happy belated Canada Day to my fellow Canadians and all that sort of thing.
Yes,
so the ropes were fine. The turnbuckles bugged me. And as you say, the elevated ramp thing isn't my favorite. It has given us some cool spots in the past. So if they had it in place for a specific spot, it's like when they have a specific stage that's set up for a specific spot. Like when Io Shirai came off the skull at Stand and Deliver. If it's a difference that eventually has a reason...
everything she jumped off of.
Yeah. If it's a difference with a reason, it's fine. This, just having it for having it, I think they're using it as a really cheap way to differentiate between when it's a special show and when it's a regular episode of NXT, and I don't think it's needed, because the rest of it, with everything being LED and all that sort of thing, was really, really good. Turnbuckles pissed me off.
Everything else looked good, and the stage looked really good.
And we started off...
We had a great opening match.
What I thought was going to be the semi-main, if I'm honest.
I did as well.
MSK held on to their titles against Thatcher and Ciampa, which I like because I really do like MSK, and I don't think... Thatcher and Ciampa are a fun team, but they're not a team that needs the belts, in my opinion. They're a team that already is a thing, if that makes sense. Ciampa's established, Thatcher is the new guy that's with the established guy, and they just wreck people. I don't think they need the belts to establish that. MSK are newer to the show, and they're a lot of fun. And they just came off the Dusty Classic.
I'm surprised they're being booed by the audience. That bothers me. Like, I get they're with Ciampa, but they shouldn't be booing.
I think that's all it is. Honestly, I think if you put them with any, like when they get with the Grizzled Young Veterans, which is going to happen eventually, put Zach Gibson in front of a crowd, put a microphone in his hand, MSK will get cheered again. I do think it's literally, I think it's literally because Ciampa was kind of lost for a while because he wasn't a main eventer, but he wasn't doing anything else either, and he's sort of found his groove again, and that's a pretty cool feeling because we talk about the four pillars all the time: Gargano, Ciampa, Balor, Cole. None of them have felt as lost as Ciampa was before he got into first of all, the rivalry with Thatcher and then them becoming a tag team. He was just like angry guy ranting in the back, but not ranting at anybody.
Yeah, and most times they do this rivalry turn into allies. It doesn't work. The only other time I feel like it's been really successful...
With the Bar?
Yeah, the Bar.
Mm-hmm.
And Cesaro and Sheamus really kind of were the standard. They were the bar.
We don't just set the bar. We are the bar.
But it was the truth. They did. They really elevated the tag division. Their matches were stellar. They actually had some great, interesting stories to tell, and they never got used, so...
And the thing about them is, like, the difference I will make in that scenario is I don't think Cesaro has been getting a lot of shine recently on SmackDown, so good for him. It's a long time coming. But I will say for Cesaro and Sheamus, they are never as interesting as when they were a tag team. Like, it takes me a lot to get into a Sheamus thing, unless it's a brawl, because, a Sheamus brawl is always going to be good, and Cesaro can go in there and do, like, the super athletic version of the Ziggler thing, make everybody else look good in the process. Nothing was as interesting that either one of them had done as when they were a tag team. And considering one of them was a WWE champion, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean,
now counter.
That is true.
Sorry, counter that. You pull Ciampa out of this tag team and tell me he's getting a title match tomorrow. I'm in.
That's the thing. He is that talent.
Thatcher on his own was kind of to me.
Yeah.
Remember,
I wasn't crazy about him, but Thatcher had a good run in Evolve. Right? Is it Evolve I'm thinking of? Yeah.
I think so. I haven't even when they added it to the WWE Network, I haven't gone back and looked at. I've looked at that.
I watched a crap ton of it, so I'm pretty sure it was Evolve that he was in that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
It was one of those.
Maybe, I looked at that and I'm like, there's so many people that I like that have come through Evolve that I didn't even realize. And
yeah, Keith Lee, Gargano.
Oh yeah. Shotzi,
Drew McIntyre, Shotzi. I mean, there's tons of people that have been in there that
yeah.
It's crazy.
I need to get off my ass eventually and check out some of that. But I mean, Thatcher.
The stories
at this point,
they tell. That's why I was so excited that Josh Briggs showed up later on.
Yeah, you were high on him, and you sent me a video that I never mentioned this to you, but didn't actually play on my phone.
Oh, really? Oh, all right, but
no, but I like that.
It was the funny part was that MJF. I said I missed this MJF because he was making the referee sweep the sand. They were by a beachside, sweep the sand out of the ring. He made him wait until he got a broom.
Nice.
And Briggs was messing with him, and then being like stand up for yourself. And then MJF throws the broom out of the ring and makes the ref sweep it out by hand now.
Nice.
And keeps threatening him, and that's when Briggs, does the ultimate babyface side of it all. It was just a great exchange, and I'm like, that's the MJF I miss, and that's the super babyface that NXT needs. Briggs can do that. When he won the Evolve title after breaking or dislocating his hip, months prior, and he had this great ascension to beat Austin Theory, it was incredible. and he had one of the ultimate face moments. Really quickly, he kept losing, and he was on this comeback where he really had to like defy the odds, and Austin Theory was beating everybody to retain the championship so he could defeat Briggs, but he was always like outsmarting Briggs and getting one up on him constantly. So the way it was established, the GM set it up so that anyone interferes when in the match, they're fired. That's it. You're done for. So right before the bell rings, everyone attacks him, and they beat him down. And Briggs is beaten with multiple finishers. They call off the match. That's it. Now he's not going to get his title shot. The fans are booing. They're throwing stuff at Austin Theory. Like, he's hamming it up because he's just, doing one of those, like, where you rub your nail into your chest, like, hanging on the ropes, I'm great things. Well, all of a sudden, they're going ahead and they're trying to put Briggs onto a stretcher with medical help, and then he grabs a microphone and he says, "Ring the bell."
Nice.
And the crowd goes nuts.
Nice.
And that's all. And then he drags himself in the ring, and they have this great match where he sells everything perfect. He gets hit right away with Theory's finisher, and you think it's over, and 2 9/10, like, just impossible how it's not a 3 of a kick out. The audience gasps. I have goosebumps thinking about it. Like that, it was such a babyface moment when he won. You had people in tears in the crowd. And then Austin, of course, wouldn't present him with the belt, so they had former champions come out to present it. Like, it was this big, like, crowning ascension, and because they didn't know what was going on and happening since he was the last champion. But yeah, that's the story that NXT kind of needs right now that they're lacking. There is no top babyface. There is no top heel even, really, because Karrion Kross is both a heel and a babyface at times. So I don't know what he is. We know Gargano's pretty much a heel, but I wouldn't say he's the top heel, would you? He might be the top heel at this time, but I wouldn't view him as the top, and that's unfortunate.
I mean, if we were gonna pick a top heel, it would have. If we were gonna pick a top heel, it would have to be Cole. But then you run into the problem of he's the heel that everybody still loves.
Exactly. So it doesn't work.
But I mean, before
that's the thing we'll get into with the main event. But
before Thatcher became part of this tag team with Ciampa, I thought, and I didn't think he was the right guy, but I thought they were sort of grooming him for that role, where he's just going to be this unlikable monster that, like, twists up all your smaller indie favorites. And I know that's cliche, but it could have worked.
Well, that's where I thought they were going too, because he had the what was the fight cage called?
Fight pit.
The fight pit, yeah, that's literally what I can't think of. Good job, Jake. But that's why I get paid the big bucks, Spaz.
You want to share some of it with me?
Upset with the roll up,
I see.
That's what because it was such a intense rivalry of a match between these two, and then you have this crazy chaos of ankle locks and kickouts and power bombs and backbreakers, and it's just like all this nut stuff going on, and you think Blackheart's going to be tag champ yet again, and then roll up, and it's like, wow, that's the ending. Like, it had that Any Given Sunday feel, like they just got a slight advantage in that moment, and it doesn't quite mean that they could beat them again. So I get the point of doing the roll up. It was effective, but it felt anticlimactic.
99 times out of 100, I would agree with you, right? And people out there are going to think I'm just doing this to be counter, and I'm not. This one,
as I do most often on the other shows,
this one felt a little bit different, and I'll tell you why. Take me back to the previous week when they did their really intense sit down, and everybody cheered Ciampa and booed MSK, which was weird, and Ciampa got cocky and Thatcher got cocky. And MSK just sort of did this thing like, hey, like, why do you have to be dicks? Like, of course we respect you and what you've accomplished and whatever, but we're here to prove something. So,
yeah, but it almost, in a way, was kind of interpreted, I guess, by some fans as them backing down to the...
The end of that segment wasn't the greatest, right? But you established that even if Ciampa and Thatcher didn't return the favor, MSK had respect for the people that they were going in. And the way the roll-up came to me, and this is what makes it different from the typical, like, roll-up that we see 25 of on Raw, to me it came off as a respectful sort of, I see my shot, I'm going to take that shot, even if it is like a slip on a banana peel thing, because if I don't take that shot, I might not get another one. And
I see that.
there's a like a respectful fear is probably not the right way to put it, but it's the legitimate recognizing of the people that you're in the ring with. Even though it might not be necessarily a 100% babyface thing, I'm going to take that. I might not get another one. And that, to me, them scraping that up really quickly is them tacitly putting over Ciampa and Thatcher and the threat that they put across while still being the team that technically beat them. So, whereas typically, again, more so on a Raw or a SmackDown, even occasionally on AEW, even occasionally in NXT, the roll-up is just, oh, well, that's how we're ending it. That's a bit flat. This one felt a bit different to me. I couldn't put my finger on it or my thumb on it and tell you exactly what was different about it. I can just tell you the vibe I got off of how it came off. So while I get where people are coming from with that, I think I just saw it a bit differently, and I'm trying to see something in MSK while everybody else is focusing on the other team.
I can see that because, I mean, Carter and Lee are very talented.
Yeah.
No doubt. Very young, have a lot to offer.
I wouldn't mind.
One of the things that Joe disagreed with me on is that, I mean, I get it too. No one wants anyone to go to the main roster. I don't either.
No.
But NXT works best when they keep refreshing the roster.
Yeah.
When you allow people to ascend to the top. Undisputed Era, God bless them, have been the Mount Rushmore for quite some time.
Yep.
Same thing with Gargano, Ciampa, Balor. Now we're back to Samoa Joe again. And
yeah, but as much as they've been around, as much as Era have been around a long time, they other than Roderick Strong, which is a little bit different, who's got another group now. The other three came in as a group, so. Even though we're used
never really in the main event scene, so they can get that.
Yeah,
but really, Adam
not
Cole,
even the main event scene. We've just never seen the three of them solo. I mean, nobody knows what's going on with Bobby Fish right now. So really, we're talking about O'Reilly and Cole, and that's the thing. While Adam Cole can just stand there and be awesome because he is, I think, star power alone. I mean, maybe side by side with Balor, I don't think anybody else has the natural star power. I'm the head of this brand, even if I don't have the belt that Adam Cole has.
Absolutely.
So I think he can sort of sit back on that and let O'Reilly be the star because he's not new to the brand, but he's new to the main event scene. Even though he's had a couple of title matches and whatever, he still feels new. And I hate to be generic, but he does feel like another Daniel Bryan type story. Like, hey, I was the leader, you were the B+ member of Undisputed Era type thing. So I think
that makes sense.
While they have been around a long time, these versions of these guys are relatively new. I think I'm forgiving because it's NXT. Let's be real. But I think that's why I'm down with it. And oh my God, like the more established they are, as these are like I say, the pillars of NXT, the more I don't want to see them ruined on the main roster.
No, I know. I don't want to either, but
I would rather like people that I don't necessarily care about. Like if you took Thatcher and Cameron Grimes and LA Knight and threw them on the main roster and left alone the people that I like, I'd be better off with that because you might get a Corbin situation where they're actually better suited for the main roster. You're going to get an Alexa Bliss situation where they're better suited. Braun Strowman was a rosebud. Say whatever you want about what he did on the main roster, but Braun Strowman was a rosebud.
Braun did nothing, and same thing with Bray. He wasn't really.
He established his character in NXT. He didn't have any,
but he wasn't really like.
He didn't have accomplishments in NXT, and this is why I'm really
over then either.
Yeah, this is why I'm kind of bummed about the Shotzi.
Nuts with him.
This is why I'm really bummed about the Shotzi thing because I don't want her to follow in the footsteps of Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, Ruby Riott, etc., who get moved up and never have a chance to hold like the main. Like I know Shotzi was a tag team title holder, which is awesome, with Ember Moon, which is also awesome. But I don't want her to be another one that just like left NXT without ever having a shot. Like she had an early goings match with Io Shirai when she was newer to the brand, where we knew she wasn't winning. That's not what I mean. We're gonna lose people that I like. We're gonna lose Bronson Reed, and Bronson Reed's fun. We need fun on NXT. Do the whole
I
Godzilla
wasn't
shtick.
thrilled with them taking that. And speaking of getting into the next segment, Samoa Joe is the special guest referee for Karrion Kross and Johnny Gargano. And the reason that I've heard is that Kross is going to the main roster. They want to take the belt off him, but they want to protect him, so it would be Samoa Joe's fault to set up a future match. So then Kross would have a match with Samoa Joe before SummerSlam's at that takeover.
Yeah.
And then he would go up to the main roster in the draft. And that's why they changed Nikki Cross's name, because Karrion Kross is on his way up.
But they don't even spell it the same way. As I said, you and I have talked before, I don't mind the Nikki Cross thing, because at least she's getting to do something that she actually wanted to do.
This is something she pitched, so...
Whether we like it or not is a conversation to have, but at least, hey, a wrestler got a chance to take a shot with something. My thing about the Gargano Cross thing is I think Gargano's going to play the Miz role here. Because I don't think they want Karrion Kross to lose to Kyle O'Reilly, but I think that the guy that does beat Karrion Kross can lose to Kyle O'Reilly. I think eventually, and I love this just for the match, let alone the title, eventually you're going to get that title on Gargano, and at the next proper takeover after that, you're going to get Gargano versus O'Reilly, which is going to be a fucking fantastic match. And he's going to have his Yeselmania moment there. And if that's the case...
Yeah, in front of fans.
If that's the case, I'm down for that. And also, if they're giving Joe an active enough role that he's going to play a ref next week, because let's be real, refs are the unsung heroes in wrestling. Like, they move around sometimes more than the wrestlers do. So if
At times, absolutely. So if he's physical enough to do that, then he's cleared.
Yeah, it's a good sign. I'm reading a lot into a lot of things. Like, I'm sort of projecting that I want him to be back, but my problem is they wouldn't let him wrestle on the main roster because they didn't think he was ready. If he goes to NXT and proves that he's ready to wrestle, they're going to want him back on the main roster so that they can bury him under Bobby Lashley or somebody. Because he's fat. Put him in a shirt. Put him in a tag team with Kevin.
Him coming to NXT was that he couldn't wrestle much.
Yeah. See, here's the thing, though, right? Vince, and this is the assumptions that everybody makes about Vince, and I say sometimes that we shouldn't do that as much either, right? I could see Vince being like, he's short and fat, put him in a tag team with Kevin Owens. Now, as shitty as that is, that would also be awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck. When Owens came back for War Games a couple years ago to fill in on that team that was down a person, I can't even remember, I really thought he was coming back.
It was Ciampa's team.
It was Ciampa's team, and then the next night because at that Survivor Series was when NXT was involved as well.
Yep.
And all the people on Raw were like, well, you were at NXT last night. Can we count on you tonight? I was hoping that second night that he was going to turn on his team and, back NXT.
We all hoped that he was going to go back to NXT that way. Yeah, I remember that he would help NXT win, and we were thinking that was what was going to happen.
Can you imagine he comes back to NXT, stares at Samoa Joe, says, why the fuck are you a guard dog for the general manager? Let's go do some awesome shit. You put the NXT tag team titles on Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens.
That would be nuts.
I would love that.
Though? That's the thing.
I would love that, though. See, I don't know who would hold the belts and who would win and who would lose, but that's a team that I want to see go up against MSK, because that's what I think of MSK.
Oh, yeah. But that would be a great team for MSK to go over and really, really establish themselves over. And Joe and Owens are so established they could take the loss.
If you want to babyface them and have them go up against a heel team, Joe and Gargano have already had a couple altercations. Can you imagine The Way versus Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens?
Oh, yeah.
And
there's so many things.
What would be great about that is I can see Austin Theory going to do that insane, springboard, what is it? Is it a Spanish fly that he does? It's basically like a flipping mic check off the second rope. Yep. Can you see him going and trying to do that to Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe just being like, get the fuck down?
Just not moving, so as he jumps off the rope to spike him, he just stays put.
Because you figure to do that, I know it's a flip, right? But you basically, to start the move before you make the flip, you're basically putting him in rock bottom position, which means he's also got you in rock bottom position. He just fucking takes him down with the Uranagi, what the fuck are you doing? I would want him to do that and then literally shrug and walk away.
That would be hilarious.
Anyway, so we've talked the hell out of Gargano versus Cross for next week, and I don't think anything that we've said is going to happen because we're awesome and they're not. Let's get through this as quickly as we possibly can. Nostalgia match for the Nostalgia belt. LA Knight versus Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes loses. They're going to do Butler stuff.
I was literally going to say LA Knight and Cameron Grimes did some stuff, some things happened, and lo and behold, we had to say, like, it wasn't a bad match. They had an okay match, and I liked, the story's been okay. It's not my, like, exact cup of tea, but
I've tried so
it
hard to like this.
I liked Cameron Grimes at first. I was into him being rich, and then I liked Ted DiBiase showing up. Once the $1 Million title became the focal point, that's when they lost me. So now we basically he uses the DDT onto the $1 Million title to incapacitate Grimes. He barely gets back into the ring, and then he hits the BFT, and now he's the Butler. So a good, compelling story. They want Cameron Grimes to really get a lot of sympathy, so this is an interesting way to get some funny segments, I think, out of these two. The comedy's been okay, so I guess they're really going to ramp up the comedy. I'm going to give it a chance. That's basically where I'm at.
I'm trying, man. Like, it's...
I know you're trying.
Here's the thing, right? I should, by all means, love this. I should love this, because Grimes is goofy as hell. I like goofy shit. LA Knight is sort of not on the same level, but it's sort of, his character is in the vein of like a Miz or an MJF type character, and I gravitate to those characters, which is fine. A little bit of nostalgia. I know other people freak out about it. I'm okay with it. Having the $1 Million title there for the night. Like,
yeah, because I too like those evil, dastardly bastard heels.
Yeah.
The MJF, the Miz's, I like those guys.
And I mean, you're never going to hear me complain about it. I don't care who's in it. You're never going to hear me complain about a ladder match. So here's all these things that I'm lining up in line that should tell me that I should love this. And I can't stand any of it. Like, I literally, the more effort I put into trying to find something good in this, like, I take my shots at AEW, but there's a whole lot to like when you're watching Dynamite.
Yeah,
like, you don't have to pull it out.
There's a lot of stuff to enjoy.
It's easier for me to watch Dynamite than it is for me to watch this story. And I don't know how much farther. And I get it that the stipulation about him being the Butler is outdated, but it's outdated on purpose because it's nostalgia, because it's a nostalgia title, because we brought a legend in, and none of it is working for me. I see, and I'm going to say this again later on, I see that it's working for some people. And I'm happy for them. And I'm getting tired of saying that in some regards. I get that there are people out there that think this is great. I get that there are people that like the archetypal heel, the archetypal babyface. He's going to have the redemption story. He's eventually going to get the belt. He's probably going to get the belt and present it back to the legend, and then the story's going to be over. And that's an okay ending, but I don't care.
That's not a bad ending, but it's not compelling. Yeah.
don't...
Hopefully the comedy gets better with this Butler stuff. I think that's what they're trying to go for.
It is exhausting trying to care about this gimmick, or this story, to me. I want to see LA Knight do something else to see if it's just this or whether I just don't like him. And Grimes is 50-50 at the best of times. Like,
oh my God, what's LA Knight's name previous?
Eli Drake.
Eli Drake. I always forget it. I've never been a fan of his. Okay. I like Ethan Page, but Eli Drake I've never been big into. So, I mean, the LA Knight gimmick I'm not really crazy about anyways. He's doing a good job. I'm just not.
You don't know what it is. He's like, but
yeah, it's missing something. It is.
But
it's
I don't think it's missing something. I think it doesn't know what it is. Like, is he trying to be a little bit Rock? Is he trying to be a little bit Miz? Is he trying to be a little bit MJF?
I guess that's what I mean by missing something.
Yeah,
so.
It's missing the mark because it's trying to hit a few. Anyways, I've dumped on that long enough. It was the only low point of the show for me, so I just wanted to bust it out there.
Then we get another great match moment.
Oh, before that, Sorry, I got to loop this in really, really quick because my thoughts
Yeah.
on this are super short as well. They lined up all the competitors for the breakout tournament on the stage. This is what I like about the breakout tournament, right? And I know immediately you picked out somebody that you know from Evolve that you're like, oh, it's really cool to see that guy. I look up and down my Twitter feed and I see people that know way more about indie stuff than I do. Oh, I'm really glad to see so-and-so get their shot. I'm really glad to see so-and-so get their shot. I don't have that per se. But I will say immediately when he had his match against Kushida and then he had his match against Adam Cole, I immediately gravitated to
aggression.
I immediately gravitated to Carmelo Hayes. So
I see that.
saying it right here right now, I'm picking Carmelo Hayes for the breakout tournament, but I don't know anything about the other guy. I know I've seen Asher Hale a couple of times. He had a pretty decent match with, I think it was Cameron Grimes. He had a match where I liked all the stuff that he did in the match, and then he ate the cave-in from Cameron Grimes, and I'm like, well, why the fuck did we bother?
Yeah, exactly. I've seen a few of those times with Cameron Grimes, especially on the indies when he really got a bit more of a name on NXT, when they were still able to wrestle at that point on the indies before the pandemic really took off. So, I'm
really surprised Ari Sterling isn't in this.
Win. I don't really know a lot of the names. I know very little about Sterling. I should know more. I mean, I haven't really paid much attention to the indies in ages at this point.
I was happy to see Ari Sterling
really when I was really watching stuff, but
I was happy to see Ari Sterling against Cameron Grimes a couple weeks ago because it gives me another chance to say Destiny Wrestling, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list.
Yeah,
because I saw him a couple years ago too, and it was like early days Hardy Boys, early days. I had a dual reference there. It was early days Hardy Boys meets early days something else, and I can't think of it now. Thanks, brain. But yeah, no, Carmelo Hayes, only because I've already seen him, and that's really stupidly biased. I like one of the names in there. I think he's Japanese, and it's just a fun name to say. It's Ikemanjaro. Or Gyro, and that's just, whenever I do a review, that's just going to be a really fun name to say, because there's no way I'm not going to be like, Ikeman, which is also a really shitty reason to cheer for somebody. I hope he goes far in this tournament, because I like saying his name. Hi, I'm Dolph Ziggler. Anyways, go on to the next match.
Got the Way taking on
Stark and Shirai.
Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, defending against Io Shirai, returning, and Zoe Stark. And you said to me initially when Stark basically debuted, you were like, "Oh, they're pushing her," and you could tell immediately that she was being set up for bigger and better things. And this certainly, proves that. And
well, it's the same thing as I just said about Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes came out, answered the open challenge from Kushida, which is a nice way to introduce yourself, first of all. But the very next week, they put him in with Adam Cole. That tells you something. This was Stark. I can't remember who she fought in her first match. I think it might have been somebody on the, like, Aaliyah, Jessie Camilla type level. And then the very next week, William Regal goes and finds her and says, look, I was really impressed with what you did last week. I'm giving you a match with Io Shirai. So they clearly see something in this girl. I just think the team is off. And yes, part of it is my brain doing the stereotypical thing. I want to see Shirai and Saray team up because I think they'd be a fantastic team. But also, they've already built a standing relationship, or a standing friendship rather, with Stark and what the hell's her name? It just fell out of my head. The other new one. Which sounds terrible.
Not Xia Li.
No, not Xia Li. Oh, fuck me. The other one that debuted just after her. Oh, Zeta Ramir.
Oh, Zeta. Okay, yeah.
So they were sort of like the new kids in town.
Zeta. I knew it was.
Yeah.
My high brain only allows
Zeta
for
Ramir,
so many thoughts.
because they had this story where they were sort of getting picked on, and like all the new, I don't want to say the new girls because that sounds condescending, but like all the new female talent were sort of sticking together and having each other's backs a little bit. And I'm like, build on that. Like, build on the fact that we are the new people. Make your female MSK if you want to. And just be like, we're the new ones, and we're going to bond over being the new ones, and bond over we're not going to be pushed around because we're the new ones. And I think they took it in a direction that doesn't quite feel as great. Like they've as much as admitted that Shirai doesn't even really like Stark. So the result at the end of this match kind of makes the way look bad because they're an actual team. They're part of an actual faction that's been established for a while now, and they just got beaten by a team with one of them saying they don't even like the other one. Now, we're going to talk about why in a second, but overall, match was good. There's 4.
Yeah, it was just a bit short, but
Here's the thing, though.
It wasn't a bother for me because of how it ended. I didn't nag on the time frame. Had it been obviously the ending not being caused in such a way. Had the match just ended without any interference or anything, and it was 8 minutes long, then I'd be upset. But the way it went down and how it happened and the way it was sold, I was way into it. So
I will say I do like Zoe Stark's finisher, that like tilt-a-whirl into the GTS thing that she does.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That would take your face
sold
off.
The hell out of it. Pretty much the only thing I really don't care for out of this is Indy being abducted again.
We should take things in order before I lose my shit.
Yes.
So they've got the upper hand. They're about to put a really bad beatdown on Stark. They really did protect Shirai because all the beatdown spots from the heels did go on Stark, which makes sense. She's the veteran and wouldn't put herself in those positions and whatever. Lights go out. We see the battery on the screen.
As you said, for a while now, you knew it would be tonight. And I wish they didn't make it so obvious that it was going to be Tegan. Like,
you know what? I don't care.
But I didn't care either because I'm so happy she's back. So
there's some stuff, and it goes for AEW as well. It goes for I'll say the Malachi Black debut that happened this week on Dynamite. There are certain things when you're dealing with AEW and NXT specifically because they lend some credence to the intelligence of their fans. Like they know that their fans know stuff. WWE, not so much. NXT and AEW both do that. I'll give the credit to AEW where it's due. So when they have a surprise that's not a surprise, it still works. Like a lot of people were speculating that the surprise at some point on last night's show was going to be Aleister Black. They thought he was one of the ones that had gotten himself out of the 90-day no-compete when it was really WWE fucked up his paperwork.
Yeah, they were just idiots and don't know how to do anything clerical properly. So
well, apparently the deal is, and I didn't know this, apparently the no-competes for the NXT stars are 30 days, and the no-competes for the main roster are 90 days. And they just never transferred them over.
I didn't know that either till yesterday, so I thought it was all 90.
Yeah, which is funny, because you would think a lot of people are a lot hotter coming out of NXT, to be fair.
Yeah, essentially, to be fair, but I guess they say they get more exposure on the main roster.
That's true, and that is a fair... Even if the show is bad, it's still seen by more people.
Exactly.
But, so the
Not
idea...
by many more, though. Lowest Raw ever in history. Since it's been on TV in '93, so.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, I liked Tegan coming back. I liked her debut. I liked the way her outfit with the street clothes. Like she didn't have to worry about putting on an outfit. She just ties the flannel around her waist and gets the.
I love the nonchalant way she was too, because when she was just standing there on the ramp, and eventually the spotlight went on her, and she just sort of gave a shrug, like, "Yeah, I'm here. What are you gonna do?" Like it was so not explosive that it was more effective. But I do like as well, and I think I said this to you on the night, I'm big on the visual things, right? But I'm big on the simple visual things. I like that when they showed the battery on screen, the green lights gradually made their way across the CWC before the spotlight came. I thought that was such a neat, simple touch. I hope that's her entrance. I hope that's how her entrance starts when we find out what her actual music and all that presentation is.
Yeah,
I hope that charging thing is part.
Entrance song from what I'm hearing, but.
Yeah,
I love the charge up. I hope they keep that for going forward.
For a little bit at least, right? And considering before we got the reveal of the Diamond Mine, I thought that the battery was going to be Roderick Strong.
I did too. So
I was speculating all kinds of other things for the Diamond Mine, Tessa Blanchard being on the top of that list, but they flipped it, and we got Roderick Strong back with an interesting faction and a whole new focus on the Cruiserweight division, and we got Tegan Knox back.
Yes, indeed.
And you know what? I know I've said I want them to be heel, but I don't even care anymore. Now that I've seen Tegan Knox back on my screen, back in the NXT context, put her back with Dakota Kai. I don't care if you turn Dakota Kai face. I don't care if you turn Tegan Knox heel. I need that team in the tag team division, and let Raquel do her own thing. And that's not a dig at Raquel, because I think they're going to fall out eventually. They're already dropping the hints for it. So just get that, whatever that story is, out of the way, and put the actual original team that existed before back together. And I think that'll be really good, because she didn't target Dakota Kai when she came back. She targeted Candice LeRae. So
yeah,
Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai versus Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. That's a match that I would slap on a pay-per-view. Titles be damned. Just put that as an additional match on the card, and I'm there. Anyways, all good things. As I say, we'll see about the things. We'll see about the Stark and Shirai team. Like we saw the WWE exclusive afterwards, where she's like, "Come on, we just won the titles. You gotta like me now." I'm like, that doesn't look strong. That doesn't look strong at all.
No.
And then we come back from the commercial break, and she wasn't abducted. She was gladly saved from the ring after her injury from Dexter Lumis. And I will say one thing. At least they're spending all of Dexter Lumis's time on this stupid index thing, and I don't have to watch him in a match. So that's a plus.
Yeah,
but
no kidding.
Jesus Christ, The Way is one of the best things on NXT, and Dexter Lumis is one of the worst things in NXT. They don't belong together.
No, they really don't.
I'm gonna have a tantrum about this. You may be surprised to see it. Anyways, I'm gonna let you go first on this, because I think you and I are gonna differ a lot. What did you think of Isaiah Swerve Scott's
Cypher
Hit Row Celebration New North American Championship Cypher?
Yeah, it wasn't for me, but it wasn't bad. That's the thing. They did a good job. I'm not big in, like, they didn't do a bad job rapping. I'm just not big into that style.
Yeah.
But the hip hop was good, and the fact that it led like all the way into, it was a full damn concert. Like, they got your money's worth, certainly. They got a lot of screen time, and it made Hit Row feel important. And it also made the NXT North American title kind of be put over, on a pedestal, but with how serious they took it, essentially. So I at least appreciated that fact. Like, it wasn't something I would watch again, but I'm happy I saw it.
Okay.
Because I appreciated what they did. They have talent. There's talent there.
Got a laundry.
Shanti the Adonis being on the DJ, I actually got a chuckle out of that too.
Yeah, I believe that's like their actual thing. Like when they actually do stuff, I think he is the. I have a laundry list of thoughts. I took so much from this segment that doesn't have to do with the segment itself, if that makes sense.
I get that.
I need to know if BFAB is a female wrestler or not, because if she is, get her in the ring, because they're out of the four of them, she knows how to own the camera.
Yes, and she has a lot of charisma already.
Yeah.
And she's like the NXT version of Jade, it feels like.
Yeah, except hotter, like by a lot.
No, them is fighting words to many, so watch out for the stands, I'm telling you.
I don't want Jade to come and slap me in the face with her dick. I just don't. It's fine. You guys can have it. All the stands and the simps and the cucks can have it.
You said Jade, not Nyla.
I'm going to get myself in trouble, so I'm going to get off this real quick. So,
Pride Month's over.
Oh no. Second thing, like you said, it was a full concert. This is where they would normally stick something like they had the musical performers for both nights of Stand and Deliver. They've had Poppy a bunch. They do musical breaks in some of their bigger shows. I think giving that specific spotlight to some of your in-house talent is awesome.
I wish that they had gotten what they were. Triple H had it all set, and I don't know the story of what or why it happened, but it didn't go through, or didn't happen, I should say, but didn't go through. But twice now has he had Corey Taylor to set to perform. Once with Slipknot, to do the theme live at one of the takeovers.
Yeah.
We Are Not Your Kind there entrance
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
With everybody back when they were doing the new entrance video where you had like We Are Not, and We Are NXT, and they had them all standing there. They were supposed to do it live, and then they were going to have the whole roster come out. So like that was going to be something really cool with Slipknot on stage. Then Corey Taylor, when he did the Corey motherfucking Taylor CMFT, whatever, like the most recent album, and he was the theme for something, one of the shows.
Yeah.
He was supposed to perform then, and it didn't go through. I don't know if it was the network thing or a USA thing or a rights thing, but I wonder why because he was all about it, and even on Twitter and Instagram Live, I guess it said like he was for it, and that's a huge name to have. Like metal fans would,
of course
would watch that.
And don't get me wrong, I do love when they get the musical acts in to break up a bigger show. I mean, friggin'. For me, Lizzie Hale singing Ember Moon to the ring back when she had that old entrance was phenomenal, because I'm biased because I love Hailstorm, right? And so there's a very specific spot that goes in.
As well, so.
But I just love that they recognized, hey, we have an act actually on our roster that can fill this role as well. I think it's just nice. Like, I don't think it's any better or any worse. I just think it's nice to say, like, hey, there's an entertainment lull in the middle that we usually look outward for, and I think the fact that they did it inward is a really cool touch that I don't think there's very many other acts that could have filled that.
No, and really isn't. I will agree with that. Now,
the other things are things I'm going to project forward as more of a, like, what do I see going forward type thing. Yeah. If they were even thinking of doing a rematch between Swerve and Bronson Reed, you got to believe Bronson Reed would have jumped them at some point during this presentation.
I feel like that would have already been established or happened or something would have occurred.
So the fact that they did this and that didn't happen, I think that ties the bow on it. Unfortunately, that ties the bow on Bronson Reed going to the main roster, which really sucks because I think he had a lot more to do in NXT, but hey, what do I know? The other thing...
I agree. He had a lot more that needed to be done, and he didn't really get much of a chance to shine with fans. And I think it would have behooved him and better serviced him overall had he had a better time to connect with fans and therefore had a better groundswell of momentum when he goes to the main roster.
He's going to be the Funkasaurus on the main roster, man.
That's my worry, exactly.
Especially with the Godzilla thing, they're gonna read that all wrong. The sad thing is, and this we could say this about
not what fans want. We like him because he's a crazy badass. That cage match where he was, just being a badass, destroying everything and everyone, was awesome.
And the thing is,
really cool.
he's got the odd mix. He can go in the ring and wreck somebody, but he's still fun. Yes. Like, he's got that other side to him, right? But I think and you can say this for a bunch of people, I think Bronson Reed is one of the ones that sticks out to me. He found his footing as a character completely during COVID.
Oh, yes.
That sucks.
That's unfortunate that the Thunderdome got the best of him.
Yeah. Now, the last thing I will say, although they're moving him away from Bronson Reed, if you follow social media at all on Tuesday night, Santos Escobar was ripping the Hit Row concert.
Yeah.
Up and down. Now, I have a theory on this.
Okay.
Because we have
he's a heel, though, so that's why I was...
We have seen... This is my crazy theory.
Are they turning them face now, you think?
I believe so.
Because I kind of thought that recently. What was the last feud that we saw? Oh, with Karrion Kross, right?
No, the last thing we saw them in was Bronson Reed facing. Bronson Reed came to help. Oh, who was it?
MSK, right?
Bronson Reed came to help out MSK while MSK was taking on Legado, so they were having their trios matches.
All right, that's what that was.
But then it was that whole thing of Escobar and his boys going back up the ramp as Hit Row was coming down the ramp, and they sort of gave each other a look, and everybody was like, oh, okay, these guys are eyeing each other up, but it's two heel groups. I think you turn Legado face. I think I don't mind that, because we've seen brief moments of
Where it could work, yeah.
we've seen brief moments of Escobar as a face. We've seen at one of the pay-per-views when he won the title or whatever, and he came out and his kid came out and they put the mask on the kid and the kid got to hold one. Oh, it was when he beat Devlin. Like, so he had two belts.
I knew there was something to it, but I couldn't
he had two belts.
recall.
He handed his son one of the belts, and he had the other belt, and he was posing and he was masked. And they didn't hide that. They presented that to the crowd.
Yeah,
I think,
and they let them soak it up, and that was good. And I'm glad when they have those moments because you can always touch back on them, and that's why it's good. People say, no, that ruins the heel. No, it shows a human element. They could still be evil. They could still be dastardly and crazy, But
do you think that bad guys don't have families? Watch any mafia movie.
That's the thing that people forget. Like, they still have human sides and tendencies. Bad people do bad things not because they just want to do bad things. It's often good intentions or noble thoughts, but desperation leads to a force of someone having to cheat, and then cheating just becomes the way because that's all you know. Things like that.
The other thing is, the other reason I have for this selfishly, we have had exactly one babyface faction in NXT in the past little while, and that was that brief period of time when Pat McAfee was around and he had the Kings of NXT, and it pushed Undisputed Era into sort of babyface mode, and they all were babyfaces for a little bit. They had their things going on with Balor, but now they've
even when they were heels, they were so over that it was hard to differentiate.
Right
now they were babyfaces, anyways. I guess you could say.
My point is, Undisputed Era doesn't exist at all anymore. It's not in the lexicon anymore.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of... They are experimenting a lot with factions, which is cool. You've got Hit Row. You've got the Diamond Mine now. You've got the Way. Supposedly, on the female side of things, they're going to be giving Robert Stone a couple more female talent to add to his...
An upgraded Robert Stone brand. Yeah, I heard about that happening, but I didn't hear that verified, so I just kind of... grain of salt it, but
I mean they are the lower end of the card, and I say that respectfully, but I do think the existence of the lower card is important. Like, you need, if you have a mid card act you're trying to push, they have to beat a lower card act, but the lower card act still has to be somebody.
Exactly, because if you don't have somebody to beat, then how can you believe in either the face or the heel?
Exactly. So what I'm saying, in this entire field of factions that they're developing now, and they're mostly 2- and 3-person factions, they need a face team. And I'm sorry, like, charisma wise, it's not going to be too hard to get people to cheer for Santos Escobar. Raul Mendoza.
I don't think it would be, honestly.
Raul Mendoza was like an underdog character before he joined Legado, and I'm sorry, anybody that saw friggin' Joaquin Wilde when he was in TNA, when he was doing the DJZ stuff, like, he will get people up off their feet if they let him do his... I'm not saying all of a sudden turn him into a raver again or whatever, but just a little bit of that element. He could be, and I'm going to stretch out the compliment here, he could be the Sammy Guevara of that group.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I could see that meaning something.
But so there's a hint, and also those trios matches, like Swerve, Ashante, and Top Dollar taking on Legado in some trios matches.
Yeah.
See, I have to say trios now because AEW is doing it. You can't have dirty old 6-man tags anymore. You have to have trios matches so that the commentators can say trios, and all the AEW fans can rip their cocks off.
Yeah, because they got to have that, that.
I was being positive too.
You were for a little bit.
But no, I do think that's what they're hinting toward. I think they're hinting at these two groups facing each other. The face turn...
That seems logical.
The face turn, I'm assuming, but the two teams... I would, honestly, like, why the fuck not get Hit Row and Legado and Diamond Mine and have a 3-on-3-on-3 match at some weirdly retarded, like, second-tier pay-per-view. Just have it be like a random pile of people matches. Because other than War Games...
You don't really have anything else like that, no.
Other than War Games, NXT doesn't really have a whole lot of pile of people just for the sake of it type. I mean, they do battle royals.
It doesn't really have a lot of fun stipulation stuff either.
But I mean, like, if you look at the main roster, right? Like, there's the matches that I like because there's a whole category of matches for me that are just pile of people matches. You've got what do you got? You've got gauntlet matches. You've got handicap matches. You've
Elimination
got
Chambers.
Elimination Chamber, Royal Rumble,
Battle Royals. You said gauntlets, but
Survivor Series
Hell in a
elimination
Cell,
matches. Like,
TLCs.
it wouldn't hurt NXT in my books anyway, because I like that kind of thing. It wouldn't hurt them, in my view, to develop another kind of pile of people match. Just to replicate some chaos. I'm not advocating for them to have like their own Royal Rumble or anything like that.
No,
but
that could be cool if they did it. If they, there's ways to do it where you don't have to be like, oh, the reverse Rumble because I'm Russo, but there's ways you can do it where you can put an NXT.
This isn't TNA
on it. Where like for NXT, I would make it that you have to be thrown over the top rope to be eliminated. But at any point in time, if you yourself exit the ring willingly, you are also eliminated. Like I would make that an NXT rule. Because
or get rid of the like it has to be both feet thing. Like if you're out, you're out.
Yeah,
like,
you're out.
Like all the things that people nitpick about the other Rumble.
People hanging out and they go ahead and they're sleeping on the outside and they hide for most of the time. That stuff really gets
pull the old Jerry Lawler thing. Just lie down and hug the bottom rope.
That's fine. You're still in the ring.
True.
I could, even when Jericho did it, I could respect that.
Yeah.
There's been times
Road Dogg did it too.
Yeah, Road Dogg was hilarious, but don't go ahead and like pull the Roman Reigns where you get put through an announce table on the outside. Now you're gone till the very last participant suddenly shows up.
Yeah.
That stuff drives me banana sandwich. So I
only
have a couple minutes left, unfortunately, breaking the fourth wall here, but I do want to touch on the main event quickly. The thing that got me here is like you said, I know you cared for it more than I did, but the match was excellent, and I give them that. I like the finish a lot. I mean, I like the way that they're now, making us buy condoms because, baby, we're on the rubber match. And that's what we're going for here. You have these two great competitors who are now intense rivals, who are former best friends that had such an intense bond in the Undisputed Era that you thought would never be taken away from. For a while it seemed like maybe they aren't going to break them up, they're just going to move them up, or they're going to just split them apart. It didn't seem like we were going to get that breakup, that they kind of wanted to keep them together indefinitely, we heard at certain points. So seeing them split at that time was a bit, I don't want to say shocking, but surprising nonetheless. And I did enjoy the match, but I didn't care for the build to it. They didn't make me excited to want to see them face each other again. Maybe, I know I sound like a hypocrite, because there's some times where it's not too soon and it works well, but I felt like them facing off in this way was too soon because of the reverse booking and not really having a point to sell here. Had there been a championship title involved, I think maybe I would have been more inclined to be all for it, but it kind of felt like it was lacking a bit of that desperation mode, that must-see nature of it.
I get that. I'm going to get my thoughts in real quick. If I'm booking NXT right now, we got a TakeOver coming up the same weekend as SummerSlam. We're doing Cross versus Gargano next week. You drop that title to Gargano. It's fine. Cross goes to the main...
Well, you get Cross and Samoa Joe on that card, I think is what they want.
Yeah. No, but here's what you do. You got Cross and Samoa Joe. That's fine. That's going to go off and be its own separate thing, even though I want to see Joe versus Pete Dunne. You got Gargano with the title. Somewhere in the middle, you do the rubber match between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. Round number 3, it's a number 1 contenders match. Kyle O'Reilly gets the win. You get Kyle O'Reilly versus Gargano on that same card as Karrion Kross versus Samoa Joe.
Ooh,
I'm good, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a little easier on this one. It's one of those combinations that just tell me the match is happening and I'm good. I'm fine. They've already proven themselves individually and collectively as to what they can give me in a match. They gave me the Wicked Plunder match, and then we pulled it back to a regular wrestling match. To me, that works. I know it's reversed for a lot of other people. I really liked it. I think this was a hell of a show for a weekly episode of NXT, and we've got a takeover to look forward to now.
Yeah.
Tell them where to find you.
We have something to look forward to and enjoy, and I'm glad NXT is just
doing its own thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's fun again. It's enjoyable. I'm just having a good time. I'm glad that they're, really going ahead and trying their best to continually
I'm glad that they're not
Move
fully
forward
like
and not
whatever
counterfocus.
people would consider back on form. I'm glad that they're not fully back on form, like right like that. I'm glad that we're seeing them get there as a brand, as a show.
And I'm also interested to see what happens going forward, as well, because they're not focused on AEW anymore. They're focused on themselves. The counter booking really hasn't been prevalent. The Great American Bash happens around 4th of July, and this is annual anyways. They're not doing it because they're doing Road Rager. So,
Well, they would have to do another special one to go up against Fyter Fest Night 1. They'd have to do another one to go up against Fyter Fest Night 2. You'd have to do another one to go up against Fight for the Fallen. And oh my God, how would they ever dispute Nyla Rose getting another women's championship match? Anyways, I started off this pod being really nice to AEW, so I'm going to stop right there. Jake, you're going to tell them where to find you, and then you're going to go run off to do Joe stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Countdown Ended, and you can also go ahead and find me on the Joe Cronin Show. We go live after AEW and WWE shows, so Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, sometimes NXTs, and usually every pay-per-view.
You guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. He's been Jake. This has been a collaborative NXT review, so we are your collaborative NXT reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, me and this sexy fucker over here are tagging out. Bye, guys.